Hello everyone and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I want to talk about 5 easy changes you can make to become successful in Black Desert. Now, I decided to talk about this since I get a lot of questions on gear progression or grind spot locations, which ones you should go or which classes you should pick, and a lot of other things. So if you've ever been on the Black Desert forums or like Reddit and you see all these posts about gear progression or where you should do or where you should grind next or whatever, I want to talk about some things that I learned over the years. So as you guys know, I've been playing Black Desert since 2016 when it came to the North American servers, and back when I started there weren't really any guides that I could use, so I kind of just had to figure this out. But now it's 2025 and you literally just watch a video or read a guide somewhere and you can figure all this out. But I wanted to talk about things that you can do on your own, just like on a regular, without having to read an entire wall of text on how to go about progressing, and just things you could do to improve your experience here. So, as we all know, gear progression in Black Desert is probably one of the biggest things you could do in this game. And of course, there's going to be a lot of questions on how to go about gear progression in the best way possible, and I wanted to talk about that. So I have a list of things I wrote down. There's a lot of tips I can give you, but I just chose 5 of them because I think these are important 5 versus just going on for a few hours. So number 1, research and plan your progression path. So I've talked about this before in other videos. Basically, how do you go about it? I'm gonna give you a meme short answer first. Is you see all your gear, you see the ones that aren't pen or deck, get it to pen or deck. That would be your gear progression. But the real answer would be get the cheapest upgrades you can for the most stats available. So like, I've given this example previously, but when it comes down to like the end game stuff, that's where people get confused as well. And realistically, it's just looking at the stats and then seeing like, this one gives more AP than the other. So if you're a new player and you're not at the like Karazad or Sovereign weapons, let me give you an example. This is an old one that's a little bit out of date, but the idea and concept is still there. So we look at the Bassi belt, you look at pen, this is 20 AP and it is like 16 billion silver. Just keep that in mind. 20 AP, 16 billion. Crescent ring. This crescent ring is also 20 AP, but it's like 20 billion silver. You see how that's the same thing, but one costs more? Now, eventually, you're going to have to get them all, but you should be doing the one that is cheaper and gives you the same stats first. And that rule basically goes for all your gear progression. Which item or which gear piece will give you the most AP for the least amount of silver, or DP, any stat that you're looking for in particular. That's gear progression, and you do that all the way until the end. So that was a TLDR. But ultimately, the more complex answer is what will get you up to the newest bracket of gear and everything. So like all of this stuff, it's going to get reworked next week. But like the same like number over here versus your like all these stats, this is going to be updated to make it a lot easier to look at. So anyway, that's number 1. Research the best gear path before actually doing any sort of enhancing or lighting silver on fire. I know you see a lot of videos and streamers do it, but also because trust me when I say endgame players can make a lot more silver than new players can. It's just gear difference. So next thing I want to talk about that kind of goes into the same topic is when you're setting goals and how to not like get burnt out of everything, is have a daily routine. Now, as we all know, BDO is an MMO. Chances are you're doing the same routine every single day, every other day, and you have some sort of path that you enjoy doing. Just make sure to do that, and you may see some other people doing some wild stuff, but ultimately just do what you think is fun. If that's making you like 1 billion silver a day and you're happy and not burning out, that's cool. And then maybe start adding things to it. But overall, I think the best thing for MMOs across the board, not just BDO, is just having a daily routine. This is an MMO, you do whatever you want, but gear progression is not like instant. Well, for most people, it's not instant. So yeah, just have a routine, stick to it. Every now and then try something different, but ultimately have like a regular schedule. And I think that will help you guys out without having you burn out. And, you know, try not to compare yourself to others. Just play the game at your own pace. And trust me when I say that, because I have definitely tried to compare myself and it did not work out as well. This game is just different from the other ones. That's all I can say. Next thing I want to talk about, number 3, is asking questions and looking up guides. So it's 2025. There's a lot of resources out there. No matter who you ask, like whether you watch YouTube videos or you watch a lot of streamers, make sure to just go out of your way, ask questions, and or look up guides before you do weird things. Just because, once again, people who play this game longer generally have a lot more information. And if you guys have ever watched my console playthrough on, like, I'll leave a link in the description to that. I got to like around mid 270 AP in less than 24 hours of game time in there. That's just game knowledge. So, and that was free to play as well. So yeah, it's one of those things where if you just ask questions instead of thinking about it or planning it yourself and you have no idea what's happening, you'll probably get a real answer faster than, you know, trying to do something and it doesn't work out. So next thing I want to talk about goes into whether you're grinding or you're life skilling, is tracking your loot progress for improvement. So let's say you're grinding at any spot and you get 5,000 trash an hour, right? And then you keep tracking that one, and then over time you can see improvements. So like maybe in 5 hours you'll get like 5,100 trash loot, or you'll just see improvement. That's the quickest way to know you're actually doing something right or you're learning. Just because this game doesn't have numbers like other MMOs do. So like, I could just take any other MMO as an example. You know how all these numbers mean absolutely nothing because you can't see the actual damage numbers, so you don't know if add-ons or buffs actually work properly. The best way to do that is probably tracking your loot, and then if you're a life skiller, you can also do this as well. It works a little bit differently, but if you try out different spots in life skilling, let me give you an example. Let's say you're gathering logs in this area, right? And you get, I don't know, 1,000 logs every 15 minutes. Then you try another spot somewhere like, you know, down here or something in Bear, and you get 2,000 logs in 15 minutes. You're learning how to actually do things more efficiently, and it's definitely something worth doing, trying to track your loot. Now, I understand it's a little bit more complex than that. You know, on Garmoth, people track all their loot, and those are usually the dedicated players that tracks everything. But if you're a beginner and you don't know what you're looking for, all I would track is your base trash loot. And some spots have more RNG than others that give like events and stuff. But ultimately, it's a good idea at very minimum, track the loot and then start adding on all the other, you know, other drops that you get in the area. So you can see improvement that way. And I do wish this game would show numbers and just you can actually just track damage and everything even easier. But I remember reading or like watching a developer commentary where they explained why they're not doing that. That was years ago. But anyway, there's ways to, you know, see improvement besides gear. And it's just all that holy big announcement, by the way. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was do things you enjoy doing, because if you enjoy it, it's probably going to be more efficient than, you know, just copying another streamer or YouTuber and then following some meta guide, whatever. trust me when I say if you re-roll a lot, it's not like it's a bad thing to do that. It's more of just like it's slowing your progression down. So if you're enjoying what you do, it's probably going to be more efficient because you learned one class, you're getting better at that class, so you do things better rather than following a new meta, re-rolling every 3 months when they do some balance changes. And yeah, so the hard truth is when you're at the end game and your gear is, you know, past like 780, this is like really end game. It really comes down to RNG because at this stage in the game, whoever has slightly better RNG will have better gear than you, or they grind a lot or spend a lot of money. But for your average player, just know getting to the end game really is just you have to enhance this gear because you can't buy it off the market. So play at your own pace. If you're not like at the end game yet, honestly, I would say just enjoy your time because once you get to the end game, it really gets time consuming for like 1 extra AP or something. And that's where I'm at. So that's a lot of tips I can give you for this video. 5 that I thought were important. If you enjoyed it, I could do a part 2. But yeah, I'll leave a lot of links in the description to some of the topics we talked about in more detail, and hopefully those help you. So with that said, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a quick sub. I appreciate it and would love to see you guys come back. Next week, we're going to have a big update with formula changes and everything. We talked about that in the global lab patch notes. So I'm going to have to do a lot of testing, and we'll be talking about all the changes. So with that said, thanks so much for watching. Before I head out, I just wanted to say that for that one creator, you know who you are. It's actually Olivia, not Olivia. So yeah, that's it. I'm out. Peace.